Once a month, Paula Pant, host of the Afford Anything podcast, answers voicemail questions the listeners send in. Here's one now.
Hey, Paula. My name is Mark, and to let you know how small of a world it is, how I got to you was I was listening to Nathan Chan over at Founder, who interviewed Joshua Sheets from Radical Personal Finance. And then you interviewed him, and he posted his interview on his podcast, and I came over and started listening to your podcast as well. So, long story short, 55-year-old father of 5, married 25 years, no savings. Evelyn Connor, who you interviewed, I'm kind of her dad. And however, with one exception, I made my first purchase on Audible for 99 cents and got all 21 hours of Tony Robbins Money Master the Game. I understand it, but I don't know where to start, and everything seems so overwhelming. And I don't want to be with a headset on my face saying, would you like cheese with that at 80 years old? So if you could give me some direction, I would really appreciate it. And I think that there are a lot more people like Evelyn's father out there than we probably realize. But you're doing a great job, and I love your show. Thanks.
First of all, for anyone who's listening who isn't familiar with the Evelyn episode that Mark referenced within his question, Mark is referencing an earlier episode that we did with a woman by the name of Evelyn Connors, who talked about how for most of her life, she thought that she was doing fine financially because she could pay all of her bills. She was never late on any payments. She had nothing go to collections. She could pay her bills on time, and she thought that that meant that she was doing fine. And it wasn't until she reached her mid-30s that she realized that she needed to start saving for retirement and start thinking more long-term. Mark, it sounds like you're very much in that same position, except that you're in your mid-50s rather than your mid-30s. First, let's focus on the good news. It sounds like you don't have any debt, and that's excellent. You may or may not still have a mortgage, but from what I can tell based on your question, it sounds like you don't have any car loans or credit card debt or anything that's, waving a big red flag. So if my assumption is correct, then congratulations, you're on good footing just being in that position already. It seems as though your biggest priority is getting ready for retirement. So let's talk about how you can do that. I have 6 specific recommendations. Number 1, open a retirement account immediately. If you qualify for a 401k, a 403b, a simple IRA, if you qualify for any type of employer-sponsored retirement account, open one of those and get your full employer match. And then once you've gotten that full employer match, open a Roth IRA, max that out to its fullest, and then go back to contributing everything that you can to your employer-sponsored retirement account. Ideally, you want to be maxing both of those out. I don't know how much you make, but 401k, you can contribute up to a maximum of $18,000. Actually, at your age, since you're over 50, you can contribute $23,000 to a 401k account and $6,000 to a Roth IRA, assuming that you Roth IRA qualify based on your income level. That means you have the opportunity, and again, I don't know how much you make, but that means that just between those two things, you have the opportunity to contribute almost $30,000 to your retirement accounts. And if you do that every year for the next 10 years, that's $300,000 right there, not counting any continual growth that's going to happen over the course of those 10 years. Now, again, I don't know how much you make, and that might be everything that you make, or that might be half of what you make. I don't know. But my broader point is to think in terms of how you can maximize your retirement contributions, because that is the single most important thing that you can do at this point in the game. So, recommendation number 1, open a retirement account and open another and max them all out to the fullest. Recommendation number 2, and this is actually a don't. You mentioned that you're a father of 5 and that you've been married for 25 years. So I'm going to assume that your children may or may not be done with college at this point, depending on their ages and their career direction. And this is difficult advice, but don't sacrifice your retirement for the sake of their college. Your kids can take out student loans. You cannot take out a retirement loan. Your kids have the benefit of time on their side. They have their whole lives ahead of them. You don't have as much time on your side. So you need to prioritize you. And that means not supporting your children into their adulthood. If they're already through with college, that's great. They can take care of themselves. They can pay for their own weddings. They can pay their own rent. They can buy their own computers. They can buy their own cars. You need to take care of yourself. And I can tell you from my own perspective, from a younger person's perspective, I knew that I was going to have to fend for myself. And that was a big part of what forced me to become responsible about my finances. I had to, when I was younger, scrape together the money to buy a $400 car because I didn't have the credit to buy a car. My parents weren't going to co-sign on a loan for me, so I couldn't take out a car loan. So I scraped together money from barely over minimum wage jobs, and I bought a car for $400. And it was doing things like that made me really good at managing money and got me to where I am today. So I tell that story in order to illustrate the broader point that it is often beneficial to children, to young people, to make them support themselves. It's really a win-win. It's good for them because it teaches them responsibility, and it's good for you because hopefully that will free up some more of your money that you can focus on contributing to your retirement accounts, because that has to be your number one priority right now. So that's tip number 2. Don't sacrifice your retirement for their college. Tip number 3, don't make risky investments for the sake of making up for lost time. Now that can be tempting. That can be extremely tempting because, you look at the graph and you see that some high risk investments have the potential for high rewards, but don't do it because those same high risk investments also have the potential for serious losses. And again, you don't have time on your side. You do not have 30 years to make up for those losses. So stick to investments that are appropriate for your age and your timeline to retirement. A very simple strategy would just be to open an account with Vanguard and put your assets, put your money into a Vanguard target date retirement account. So at your age, since you're 55, that might be a target date 2025 or target date 2030 retirement account. That's the easy solution. If we wanted to, we could get really nerdy about asset allocation. We could dive into those weeds. But if you're looking for a place to start, you really can't go wrong, in my opinion, with a Vanguard target date retirement fund. It's simple, it's low fee, and it gets the job done, So much of what we talk about on this show when we get super nerdy about asset allocation, we're tweaking around the margins. To those of us who are complete dorks and who are fascinated by this kind of stuff, that tweaking is fun, but that's really tweaking around the margins. It's not necessary. Done is better than perfect. Right now, I want you to just get that job done. Get that money working for you in the market in a tax-advantaged retirement account. Tip number 4, don't try to time the market. Continue to contribute to your retirement accounts every month, regardless of whether the market is up, down, sideways, or diagonal. Because if you try to time the market, you have to be right twice. You have to be right when you sell and when you buy. And the probability of being right multiple consecutive times, it's probably not going to happen. As we've seen through the Great Recession, a lot of people who tried to time the market ended up doing worse than people who just stayed the course and continued contributing a regular amount of money every month. And if you think about it, if you contributed, say, $30,000 a year into retirement accounts, that would break down to $2,500 per month. If you put in the same $2,500 per month, then naturally, when the market is high, that $2,500 will buy fewer shares. And when the market is low, that same $2,500 will buy more shares. So just by virtue of putting in the same amount of money every month, you're naturally going to pick up more shares when the market's low and cheap. And you're naturally going to pick up fewer shares when the market is on a high. So don't even worry about market timing because a steady contribution strategy, dollar cost averaging, will organically do that for you. So that was tip number 4, don't try to time the market. Tip number 5 is to build an emergency fund because it You mentioned that you have no savings. This is something that you should have on hand, since an emergency fund, it's not meant to create returns. It's only meant to be a buffer between you and credit card debt. So keep at least $1,000 just to begin with, and over time you can begin building that up. Ultimately, you want that fund to be between 3 to 6 months of your bare basic living expenses. But just to begin with, just to get that small win, start by building a $1,000 emergency fund and keep this in a savings account. Finally, tip number 6, spend 5 to 10 hours a week earning extra money on the side. Just spending an extra 5 to 10 hours a week building your side hustle can bring in a significant amount of additional money. Since you don't, quote unquote, need this money in the sense that you're currently living fine without it, pour every penny of this money after taxes into savings. And by savings, I mean your emergency fund and your retirement accounts, because the contributions that you make right now will be the biggest determinant of how well you're doing at the age of 65. Remember, you can do a lot in 10 years. So good luck and congratulations on being in as good of a position as you are, because quite frankly, a lot of people aren't doing as well as you. You know, a lot of people are deep in debt at the age of 55. So, you sound like you're on solid footing and now you just need to think about retirement.
Hey, did you enjoy this excerpt from the Afford Anything podcast? Then click to download our free ebook, Escape. You'll be taken to a page where you can enter your email for immediate access to everything you need to know about escaping the 9-to-5 grind to live life on your terms. And you can also subscribe with one simple click to get alerted when new videos are uploaded.